sina namna, hata ya kukula ni shida, hata kulipa nyumba ni shida. Wako hapo sasa na wao wakao washindi kwa nyumba wanaongopa, ndio sasa wanaambiwa sasa waanze shule. Tulikuwa tunaona tu wamepita sana, waende shule sasa, na mama yetu tunawajua vizuri.
Wayua, who scored 330 marks, was admitted to Tala Girls High School, while Magdalene got 256 marks and is supposed to join Sunrise Girls High School. Both schools are in Machakos County.
Moja ameitwa Tala Girls, huyu pande hii. Huyo mwingine ameitwa huko tu. Wote kwa mtogora. Juu sina uwezo nitafanya nini? Ama waoleke wakiwa hivyo waondoko hivyo.
Their parents, Agnes and Richard Mulwa, who work as casual laborers, say they have explored all options and resorted to pleading with well-wishers for help.
Tanga tu ya chakula. School fees kulipa, mimi nimelemewa kabisa. Ndio nimeona nifanye mpango nikuje mpaka huku nione kama napata usaidizi. Usina otherwise.
Mimi nilikuwa navua kabla koloni injakuja. Lakini vile koloni ilikuja, watu walienda maisha yako, sina mali naweza kuvua. Hata usiku nilipika unga nusu. Lazima hawa kuna wengine wanimeacha kwa nyumba.
To help Wayua and Magdalene pay school fees, you can send your contribution via M-Pesa to 0757 099 940.
Other details in regard to that story and so much more on our website. So if you want to assist the two twins pursue their education, you can get our details or other details of the mom on our website at www.kbc.co.ke. Now we cross over to those stories making headlines in the counties that a grade 2 pupil in Kisii South Primary School died on the spot after he was knocked down by a hit-and-run vehicle. Emmanuel Barongo, aged 6, and a pupil at Nyamare Primary School, was sent home to collect levies when he met his fate as he crossed the road from the learning institution. Details of this from the county's news roundup.
Emotions ran high when irate parents stormed the school accusing the head teacher of causing the death of the pupil for what they claimed as the habit of dispatching pupils of an non-payment of the levies or lacking personal effect. The school head teacher had sent home the deceased for failure by his parents to pay 60 shillings levy. Police removed the body to Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital mortuary.
Mwalimu headmaster kila wakati anatumanga watoto, iwe ni mahindi, iwe ni maharagwe, iwe ni shilingi 60, na hivyo ni vibaya sana. Inastahili mwalimu aite committee wasasi wakuje, kwa sababu rami iko hapa, inastahili kuwekwa bams ili watoto wetu walindwe vizuri.
Tunaendelea kulalamika siku baada ya nyingine, sababu huyu mwalimu tangu aingia hapa hakuna chochote anafanya.
Elsewhere, transport from Kangundo to Nairobi was paralyzed for the better part of Monday after two Sacco Scam and Makata Saccos protested the entrance of a new Sacco on the route.
Kuna Sacco ambayo imekuja hapa kwa petrol station ya nyingi, inaitwa Naekana Sacco. Naekana Sacco imekuja huku Tala kubeba huku. Sisi kama watu wa Kamsako na Makata atupewi nafasi ya kubeba Nairobi.
Naekana Sacco also reduced its fare by almost 50%, a move that agitated the other two Matatu Saccos. Police had to use tear gas to disperse the rioting operators who had blocked the Kangundo-Nairobi highway. A row is in the meanwhile simmering between smallholders farmers and pastoralists in Laikipia County over illegal grazing. This is after illegal herders fleeing security operations in ranches and conservancies started invading into small farms neighboring the ranches and conservancies.
Tunatabika hapa sana kwa ng'ombe. Ng'ombe inaigishwa kwa mashamba, inakula kila kitu, na tunahangaika kabisa. Na tutaenda wapi? Sasa chakula imekuliwa. Sasa tutasomesha na nini? Na tutafanya nini? Kutoka saa hii turudishe mahindi ingine, mwaka hiyo ingine, si mwaka hii, sasa hii imeisha.
Residents of the Eka 20 village in Narok East Sub-County are crying foul after Kenya Power and Lighting Company disconnected power for over 10 months ago. According to the locals, power blackouts has paralyzed essential services in the area.
Stima imepitia karibu na boma zetu, na kama hatujapata stima hiyo miaka yote, kwa hiyo miaka yote hatujawahi pata stima.
And Londiani Deputy County Commissioner Elmi Salmi has warned residents of Kedowa over destruction of environment. The administrator in particular took issue with the many stone quarries in the area, urging them to look for an alternative site.
Watu wa Kimasiani mubadilike. Ninawaambia kwamba kuna njia nyingi ya kupata mapato, lakini mapato ya kwari kuharibu mashamba na mazingira is not the best thing. Afadhali mchange tactic, muone njia nyingine ya kupata mapato.
Now from the county news roundup, and on a lighter note, I hope you had Mashakura there. Now let's cross over to stories making headlines across the world, where Zambia's president-elect Hakainde Hichilema has extended an olive branch to his predecessor Edgar Lungu after a landslide victory in the recently held polls. Hichilema, who has long been in the opposition, also pledged to be a president of all Zambians, whether they voted for him or not.
Hichilema Hakainde S. to be president-elect of the Republic of Zambia.
Zambian opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema was declared the winner of last week's bitterly contested presidential election after defeating the incumbent President Edgar Lungu more than 1 million votes. It was Hichilema's 6th attempt at winning the presidency. Lungu has accepted defeat and congratulated Hichilema. In a speech broadcast on national television, Lungu said he was committed to a smooth transfer of power, even as he expressed reservations the elections were not free and fair. Elsewhere, several people have been reported killed at Kabul airport as Afghans flee following the Taliban's takeover of the country. The US says all its embassy staff have been evacuated to the airport. More than 60 countries have issued a joint statement calling on the Taliban to allow people to leave. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has fled the country, reportedly to Uzbekistan. On Monday, 5 people were killed after Taliban fighters seized the capital, prompting the US military to suspend evacuations to clear the airfield. Additionally, the Afghanistan Civil Aviation Authority said the Kabul airspace has been released to the military and that it advised transit aircraft to reroute. And the death toll from the deadly earthquake that struck Haiti on Saturday has risen to 1,297 as rescue workers frantically search for survivors. An unknown number of people are still missing after the 7.2 magnitude quake. Tropical depression Grace is expected to pass over the worst affected area of Caribbean nation later on Monday. It is feared heavy rain brought by Grace could trigger landslides.
Now from the world, we get into the world of business and focus on tourism, where hoteliers operating in the Manyara are proposing that the government include site visits to the country's national parks in the school curriculum to boost domestic tourism and help enlighten Kenyans about the country at an early stage. They argue that despite the niche sector having the potential to leapfrog the industry, domestic travel is still alien to a majority of Kenyans.
Plains remain unusually quiet, devoid of tourists, despite the advent of the high season.
The numbers are very low. Although normally we have good numbers because the client we used to have their British, American, Chinese, they used to come and subsidize us here, but now the numbers are very low. So I don't know what we can say, because actually now almost many camps are empty.
For Stephen Koriata, a hotelier operating in the heart of the Manyara, this is a disaster in waiting.
You know, you interact with foreigners. You don't know whether they have been vaccinated in their country. And you see this vaccine, they say it's not a cure. It's just, it prevents only. So you don't know whether the guest has it when he came to the country, you know, and the moment you get in contact with them, then you're done.
Delta variant is more dangerous, so we will need you to have the PCR certificate to show it is negative for you to come into the country, so that we are sure that you are not coming with a virus. And when you depart the country, you also take a PCR certificate check, so that you don't go with the virus outside the country at the same time.
Governments across Europe have enforced strict travel restrictions to East Africa, where the entire region features on the UK's red list, meaning that tourists returning from East Africa must undertake a mandatory hotel quarantine for 10 days. As uncertainty reigns on the COVID-19 situation, hospitality industry players are turning to the domestic front.
The government can roll some, programs, because Kukuja Mara is also an education tour. A young child ametoka, for example, Eldoret, Mombasa, labda hajawahi kuona a buffalo, hajawahi kuona an elephant. Then from that point of view, akikuja anaona na anapata that mind, anapata reality. Transform from the book mpaka kwa a reality life. So if the government can roll those programs, definitely domestic tourism in this country can be very good.
They are calling on the government to institute programs targeting school-going children to enculturate domestic travel.
Watoto ama even the common mwananchi, for the experience that I have whenever they come to Mara, they'll always love to come back. Unaona wanasema sijai kuona hii, sijai kuona hii, sijai kuona hii, and then you see there is a lot of urge actually wakuja warudie, lakini kila siku wanaona wanasema the place is very expensive.
How about that for those who are asking, how come you sing doubles? Well, that was over the weekend last week, and that was happening at the Mara Reserve there. Remember, a report was already made public last week that Kenya accounts for over 30% of the lion's population in Africa, with a number over 2,486 at a time when South Africa, Zambia, who are still trading in these lion bones. It means that the lions, the African lion, will soon be part of the endangered species. So if you have a moment to travel, how about you sample what makes Kenya an ideal tourist destination? That was down in Gerende, a luxurious camp there, so you can make your way there. Buy Kenya, build Kenya. Now, talking about buying Kenya and building Kenya, although Kenya's sports prowess is known across the world, sportsmen and women in the country have over the years sourced their sports gear from international brands. But not anymore. A Kenyan company has since 2016 been designing and manufacturing sports shoes and selling the same locally and abroad. Betty Kiptum with that story.
Kenyan sportsmen and women have dominated both the track and field events for decades. A Kenyan brand is now seeking to ensure they are wearing Kenyan-made sports shoes. The kit always bears the Kenyan colors. The locally owned company, Enda Sportswear, is seeking to offer a Kenyan-made sports shoe to the local and international market. Making inroads in the competitive sportswear industry, dominated by large brands, requires cutting-edge designs as well as an understanding of the athlete's needs.
Our shoes are sold mostly online, and so it's easier for anyone in any part of the world to be able to, be in our shoes and enjoy running the Kenyan running way.
The company procures locally sourced material, aiming to establish itself as a proudly and loudly Kenyan brand. The company's lead designer, Cyprian Kiswili, however, says this has not been easy.
Some of these raw materials, we are not able to find them, locally. And in order to compete in the global stage, we have to go for the right and the best materials available in the world. And so, of course, as much as possible, we also try and see how we can incorporate local materials.
Enda Sportswear currently hires over 100 employees in its production line. Its biggest market is in the United States, but there have been concerted efforts through the Tusker Mwanzo shoe production to target the Kenyan market, where there is growing demand for quality locally manufactured products as part of the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya initiative.
So we call it the Mwanzo because it's the first of its nature here, and so we've basically sourced most of its materials, that is the leather from Kenya, the canvas is purely Kenyan, and so it's a product that we are very proud of.
Through contract manufacturing, the company makes 150 to 300 pairs of shoes per day. About 80% of Enda's client base comes from the United States, 8% from Europe and 12% from Kenya. Betty Kiptum, Prime Edition.
Indeed, Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, right? Now, 2 Africa Consortium has announced the addition of 4 branches to the 2 Africa cable. The branches will extend 2 Africa's connectivity to Seychelles, the Comoros Islands, Angola and Southeast Nigeria. Now, details of this and other stories from the corporate scene.
The branches will extend 2 Africa's connectivity to Seychelles, the Comoros Islands, Angola and Southeast Nigeria, making it the largest subsea cable project in the world. Communities that rely on the internet for services will experience faster and more reliable internet service. As with other 2 Africa cable landings, capacity will be available to service providers at carrier-neutral data centers or open access cable landing stations on a fair and equitable basis. Alcatel Submarine Networks has been selected to deploy the new branches, which will increase the number of 2 Africa landings to 35 in 26 countries. Elsewhere, Wow Beverages Limited staff are protesting against a decision by security officers to bar them from accessing their offices. The management and employees were set to receive handover of the company's premises on Sunday. This follows a notification from their lawyer to KRA, DCI and DPP setting a date for the handover. However, they were turned away by GSU officers manning the facility in Thika. According to the lawyers, Thika has seen a loss of over 800 million shillings in monthly taxes to KRA compared to when the companies were operational. For Prime Edition, I'm Brian Munyuoki.
Now, that was what was happening on the corporate scene. Now let's cross over to those stories that are making headlines across the African globe, where authorities in Zanzibar have expressed optimism over tourism recovery. The country welcomed an overwhelming number of international tourists in the first half of this year, with most of their arrivals coming from the traditional European market.
According to the country's official data, Zanzibar recorded 20,416 tourist arrivals in the last month of 2021, compared with 353 arrivals during the same time last year. With vaccinations underway both on the Isles and Tanzania's mainland, the number of international tourists is expected to rise, leading to an increase in economic activity and growth prospects for the Meanwhile, customers who have been to or connected through Nigeria in the last 14 days will not be permitted on any Emirates flights bound for Dubai until August 20th, according to Emirates on its website. The airline says its contact centers were experiencing a greater volume of calls than anticipated. However, Dubai's flagship carrier is ramping up flights to other destinations in Africa, with increased flights to Johannesburg. Finally, mergers and acquisition activities in Africa soared in 2021 as total deal value hits $57.7 billion. According to Baker McKenzie's analysis of Refinitiv data, Africa's mergers and acquisitions activity soared in the first 6 months of 2021, with deals recorded worth more than $57.7 billion, up from $8.5 billion year on year. This amounted to a 14% increase in deal volume and an outstanding 576% increase in deal value compared to the same period last year, when 293 M&A deals with a deal value of $8.5 billion was recorded.
Takes us to matters sports, where President Uhuru Kenyatta says the government will work to ensure Kenya's sporting talent is nurtured and retained by creating a conducive environment and providing incentives for performance. The head of state, who hosted representatives of the triumphant Kenyan contingent to the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games at State House Mombasa, called on the Ministry of Sports and stakeholders to establish a system of identifying and developing talent to expand the country's pool of athletes.
President Uhuru Kenyatta spent Monday afternoon with representatives of Kenya's contingent to the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games held in Japan. Team Kenya bagged 10 medals from the sporting extravaganza, an inspiring performance that saw the head of state fed medalists with cash awards. Each of the 4 gold medalists, Eliud Kipchoge, Emmanuel Korir, Faith Kipyegon and Peres Jepchirchir, got 1 million shillings. The 4 silver medalists, Helen Obiri, Ferguson Rotich, Bridget Kosgei and Timothy Cheruiyot, were awarded with 750,000 shillings each, while bronze medalists Benjamin Kigen and Hyvin Kieng each got 500,000 shillings.
We are here to celebrate your victory, which is Kenya's victory. And we're here to congratulate you, to say how proud we are of how you performed individually, but also how you performed as a team.
The president thanked the Olympians for their outstanding performance that saw Kenya top the African medal chart and challenged the sporting fraternity to ensure the country continues to excel on the global stage.
We want to continue to ensure that not only do we give our best to ensure we retain our athletes, and to ask ourselves why we are losing some of our good people outside. These are questions I think, Jemedari, we must begin to resolve.
The head of state also announced a uniform token of 200,000 shillings for all athletes and officials, including the Paralympics team, which will compete in their games from the 24th of this month in Tokyo. President Kenyatta also urged the athletes to always adhere to set international standards of practice by avoiding situations that may destroy their careers and the country's sporting reputation.
Is irrelevant. Emmanuel Korir follows in the magnificent footsteps of David Rudisha and takes the Olympic title for Kenya.
Medalist Timothy Cheruiyot has been promoted from the rank of Chief Inspector to Senior Superintendent of the Prisons by the Commissioner General of Prisons on the order of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Cheruiyot clocked 3 minutes and 29 seconds to finish second in the final behind Jacob Ingebrigtsen of Norway. Cheruiyot was among 4 silver medalists at the Games, which ended on the 8th of August, with the others namely Helen Obiri, Ferguson Rotich and Bridget Kosgei.
Owing to your very sterling performance, the just concluded Tokyo Olympic Games, which you won a silver medal. In 1,100 meters race. But in a picture all the same. That give honor and glory to our nation, Kenya. You'll be instantly promoted the rank of Senior Superintendent of Prisons.
Congratulations to the team of our able men and women who represented us at the Tokyo Olympic Games. Remember, Kenya was, and as far as the medal standing was concerned, the best performing country in Africa in as far as our medals were concerned. So we take a short break. When we return, we're going to be giving you details of stories that are making headlines in the last 24 hours. Do not go away.